Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Baker High School Coaches Show. I'm Greg Allen, with my guest today, the head coach and athletic director of Baker High School, Coach Larry Thomas. We're going to talk to you a lot about what happened this past Friday night at the Yellow Jackets Stadium in Denham Springs. We're all pleased that we left there victorious. We're going to go over with you some of the things that took place, and we're going to talk about some of the things that's ahead of us this season, and especially this next Friday night right here at Wedge Kai Stadium. So y'all stick with us. We're going to take a break for a commercial message and be right back.
Of your own, you want to make sure they'll have the things they need, the way you always did. When it's time to plan the life insurance program to secure their future, there's someone nearby you can depend on. Your State Farm agent knows life insurance and is ready to help, like a good neighbor.
I'm State Farm Agent Keith Cox. For the last 6 years, I've been insuring the things that Baker people value most. Call 775-2494 or stop by my office on Main Street at Groom Road and let us show you how to get the most for your insurance dollar.
Most things aren't as simple and as easy as they were when I was a young whippersnapper, but taking care of our family's dental health has gotten to be a lot easier and more affordable thanks to Landmark Dental Care. The folks at Landmark work hard to offer the latest in dental technology at old-fashioned prices, and they're open evenings and on Saturdays, which is very important to this busy bunch.
Greg Allen back with Coach Larry Thomas. Coach, we had an exciting time in Denham Springs Friday night. At least it was exciting when we left. Had a lot of people anxious on the edge of their seats throughout much of that football game, and I guess it's we said this during the football game. It's kind of like the LSU Ole Miss football game. You can when those two teams meet on a football field, whether it's in Baker or Denham Springs, you throw the record books away. And just because you go in there undefeated and they've lost a game or two didn't mean anything. Those boys came out there to play football as we knew they would. And I guess they have an advantage on you in that they can get their boys up easier for a football game. They could have made their season that night, and then we could have crushed ours. But we hung. How do you feel about the overall performance?
Well, Greg, I was looking for a tough battle. We talked about this last week, about usually Denham's undefeated going into our game, the last couple of years anyway. And I just knew that they were going to try to bounce back against us. We defeated them last year when they had one of the finest teams that you could find in this part of the country, one of their finest teams through the years, I'm sure, because it was a junior ball club we played 2 years ago in a big game, and we came out victorious, and they just, knew they were going to come over here and beat us, and we more or less upset them last year, even though we were undefeated at the time. We played outstanding game in the second half and beat them. And I knew that they were going to try to do the same thing to us since we were undefeated and they had 3 losses. But they were one of the best teams I've seen with 3 losses and now 4 losses, because they average 25 points a ball game. And anytime you can do that and be close in every game, and in fact, they'd beaten some good ball clubs. For instance, Covington, they had beaten Covington in a close ball game. So we just knew that we were in a battle. Like you say, you go to Denham Springs, you better be ready because they're going to play good, sound, fundamental football.
They really did. They came out to do just what you said, to attack us, to play good, sound football, and I thought they did. Our offense, which we all know we have a good offense. There's no sense in trying to defend anything they do or to blow smoke at them, because we know we got a good offense, and both in the air and on the ground, we can move the football, have consistently this year, and we'll continue to. There's no doubt. I don't think anybody's going to stop us offensively. But our offense got off to a little puttering start, and that they jumped ahead of us by actually 2 scores before we got an opportunity to put points on the board, which was late in the first half. Do you think maybe? I thought the plays were tremendously well thought out and coached. As we were looking at it from the press box view, our receivers was open a great deal of the time, and they were open deep. I mean, we had some receivers open real deep that maybe Chris get a little slow start and putting it right on the point, or just over anxious, or how did you view that?
Well, we had the receivers open deep early in the game, and one, I thought sure that before the ball was, or when the ball was released, I thought it was going to be one of those dynamic catches by Tony Sampson. It was close. Tony made a good effort, and sometimes he catches that pass, extends himself, but it just wasn't to be. And had we made that particular catch, we'd go up on him early in the ball game because he was open behind everybody. And as you know, Chris has a real good arm, and he can throw it about as far as he has to. And it was just a little bit out of Tony's reach. It didn't make the catch. And when you throw the ball, that's one thing you got to do. You got to catch it, and that will happen when you put the ball up. We're putting it up a good bit more this year than we did last year because of the talent and the abilities that our people have. So we put the ball up 25 times, and we just didn't connect. And sometimes it's a matter of inches, sometimes a matter of feet. And as they backed up, then after that, after we threw that one, didn't complete it and get on the scoreboard early, their safeties got about 20 yards deep. And for a while there, we're still trying to go deep, and we needed to hit those underneath receivers, which we began to do later in the ball game, and I think that made a difference.
Coach, I guess one of the most important things I can remember in the past, hearing a statement that a coach made. I heard Coach Stewart make a statement many years back, and I'm not saying many, since he's been at Baker High School, that when you get in a game with somebody that is inferior to your club, and goodness knows we've been inferior to a lot of clubs in years past throughout the different seasons, but right now we have a superior team to most people we're going to face. But he made a statement one time that when you're in a game like that with an inferior club, the longer you mess around with them, the more dangerous they become. And if there's ever a truer statement about football, I don't know. You play around and you get them, they're psyching up, and they all of a sudden thinking that they can win the ball game. And you don't ever want a team like that to think they can win, because that's when they'll come at you. Is there anything that now we know that I know that fact. I learned it a long time ago when Coach Stewart said. I've heard y'all say, and you've used it on many occasions. How do you get that point across to the boys, to the people on the team? Is it just difficult to bring up?
Sometimes it's hard. It's hard to do. I know this past week we pushed and shoved and we yelled and pleaded and warned about going into the Denham game. Don't take it for granted because they've lost 3 games. You got to be ready. I think we were ready in this sense that we knew that Denham was going to be tough. But anytime you go into a game like that and you haven't lost a game, and they've lost games, young people sometimes it's hard to fool them. Because every week you got to tell them we got to be ready, because it's like we told them before, each week as you win and keep on winning, the games become larger. And it's very true what you said. You go out there and you let that team stop you a few times. You don't execute properly. You don't get in the end zone. Their confidence builds up. They get more confidence. They look, well, we stopped them. Now we can play with them. Denham Springs was playing on very high emotions. They came out really, they were already psyched up, as you were talking about. They came out sky high. And the intensity of the game was between the players. You could see it on every play. We were at each other's throats, so to speak. They both wanted to win real bad. There was individual competition on the field. And you could tell in the ball game it was. And the further it went, the better Denham played, until I thought they maybe got a little tired in the fourth quarter, and we began to come on and do the things we wanted to do a little better.
Well, we've talked a lot about your offense and what they did and how they performed. We want to talk a little bit later about the defense. How do you feel? What kind of a job you feel like they did for you? But I want to mention something that I'm sure is on everybody's mind, and bring it to light right here on this program. Make a comment about it. It's not anything we run from. It's human nature. Things like this happen. It's happened on both sides of the field. History dictates that at our field and other fields also. There was a display of some emotion and some extracurricular activity during the ball game. And like I said, it's happened the other way before for us. And it happened throughout the ball game, and little spats here and there that got broken up real easy. But of course, I'm talking about the big incident where the Denham Springs team leaves the bench and gets out there mixing it up with 11 of our ball players. I want to say to you right here in front of all of our fans that I thought it was very, very commendable of the Baker coaching staff and the football team in general for maintaining their composure. There was nothing to gain by the team coming over there, except it takes it longer to get broke up. you've made statements to me, and I think that you represent your entire coaching staff when you say that your boys can handle themselves. You wouldn't worry about them in a situation like that. We know they're tough. We know that they're fine young men, and I'd put them up against any school in hand-to-hand combat. But that's not what we were out there for. And I want to commend you and your coaching staff. I think it's very representative of the type of community that we have here, that they maintain their composure under your coaching and direction, and Coach Mook and I think no matter what you hear on the street, I want to commend you for the job that was done. I don't think that Coach Butch Wax and Coach Bailey, the principal of Denham Springs, after I spoke to them after the ball game, were very pleased with the action of their ball players. And I understand there's a little action taking place at the school this week because of some of their activity. I had one elderly gentleman come up to me after the ball game and really humble himself and apologize. A real gentleman-looking fellow, and I had one of your red shirts on. I guess he might have thought I was on your coaching staff, but he humbled himself and apologized. He said, "Sir, I want to apologize for the action on the field tonight. That our boys aren't normally like that, and that I thought that we were in error, and we hope that y'all would forgive us." So they're gentlemen and decent folks over there too. It just kind of got out of hand. But again, I want to thank you for the situation and how y'all handle the situation.
Well, appreciate it, Greg. We had talked about this kind of situation before, and we're trying to get our players to control themselves, and they want to go out and defend their teammates.
Sure.
And it's natural. Had we not probably been there and said, "Look, stay back," they've probably been out there, just like Coach Wax players were. But Coach Wax sideline was closer to what was happening, and in their defense, sometimes these things just happen spontaneously, and it's out there, and you got to go out there and break it up. And I know it's happened to us that way at times, and we don't want players on the field. And we really appreciate our fans not coming on the field, because under Louisiana High School Athletic Association rules, no one's allowed on that field except the coaches and those players participating at the time. And the coaches are expected to go out and separate their players. Officials expect them to come out in that kind of situation and calm their players down. But we appreciate our fans not coming out of the stands,
Well,
because that can cost us crew.
Under LHSA rules, you might want to hone in on that now, that you're complimenting the fans for not coming out.
Right.
And if they ever did, what can we be expecting?
Well, you can expect you could probably possibly put on probation, and these sort of things. Depends on the action of that fan and what happens on the field. But
they could put the team and their chances for further action in athletics to be in jeopardy.
Oh, sure.
So we want to just remind everybody of that. We don't need that, and like you said, we hadn't had that. And that's
right. We were pleased that we were able, that our players came under control, and of course we were disappointed that one of our players was expelled from the game. But those things happen. Officials sometimes he just sees part of it. It was going back and forth, and I couldn't really say. I've talked to our player, that was involved. I couldn't really say how it started. I don't know that those two players that were first involved really know how it started. It's just a heat of battle, and if the officials they don't throw a flag, and it continues, sometimes it just it'll get out of hand before you know it.
Well, Coach, we're going to be back in a few minutes and talk about the defense a little bit in Friday night's football game, and then we'll get into what we're expecting to see this next Friday night, which is the biggie. We want to remind everybody, too, that this coaches show, along with the football game on Friday night, is a production of Treb Production Company, the first television and radio production company of its kind here in Baker, Louisiana. Also, throughout this show and throughout the football games, you'll see sponsors, commercials on these shows. Patronize these people. Go in and see them. Tell them you've seen it on the Baker High School Coaches Show and the Baker High School football game. It makes them want to participate and want to sponsor these programs so that you have the benefit of seeing these programs in your living room. So go by and see these folks and tell them you appreciate what they're doing for Baker High School athletics. We'll be right back after this commercial message.
Most things aren't as simple and as easy as they were when I was a young whippersnapper. But taking care of our family's dental health has gotten to be a lot easier and more affordable thanks to Landmark Dental Care. The folks at Landmark work hard to offer the latest in dental technology at old-fashioned prices, and they're open evenings and on Saturdays, which is very important to this busy bunch.
What if that apple a day doesn't keep the doctor away? Will your health insurance really help? Or will medical care costs speed it up too fast? If you want a free review of all your coverage needs, check with State Farm. To find out how healthy your health insurance really is, see a State Farm agent now.
I'm State Farm Agent Keith Cox. For the last 6 years, I've been insuring the things that Baker people value most. Call 775-2494 or stop by my office on Main Street at Groom Road and let us show you how to get the most for your insurance dollar.
That special feeling when you're driving a superior deal is satisfaction. Superior Ford, where the savings are real. Ford service that's one of a kind. The friendliest people you'll find at Superior Ford and Zachary, where you can drive a superior deal and feel superior.
Welcome back, folks, to the Coaches Show right here in Baker, Louisiana. I'm Greg Allen with Coach Larry Thomas. Welcome back to the second half of our show. Coach, we talked about some of the offensive action that took place, among some other extracurricular action that took place, but you got a fine defensive team. They allowed a few points to get put on the board first, but it seems that they regrouped. And how do you feel about their performance, and where do you still feel like, if you're missing anything, that you need to polish up a little bit?
Well, defensively, we knew that we had a big chore ahead of us with Denham Springs. Denham Springs has been averaging 25 points a ball game. And to get that average, they scored in the neighborhood of 30 points a game for 2 or 3 games. And in the games they lost, I know they lost one game to Broadmoor, something like 30-28. So we knew that the offensive, they had really been strong. I mean, nothing had changed since last year. Defensively, they're still sound up front, and that was what we were hoping to be able to hurt them in the defensive backfield, which we did later on. But our defense did a good job of containing their offense when they had to. A big series for us was when they came down. They were leading 7-0, and we stopped them and forced them into a field goal situation, which gave us a chance to get back in the ball game. Had not they forced Denham Springs into a field goal, and most teams in Denham Springs have been just blowing over. I know against Bel Air, every time they got the ball for 3 or 4 times, they drove for touchdowns. And Bel Air eventually just outscored them after they turned over the ball on a fumble. But I was pleased with our defense hanging in there and doing the job they did. And it seemed like we got better. Our defense, we got better as the ball game went along. And after they double team you after a while, you kind of you're going to get blown out or you're going to dig in and adjust. And they come at you a little bit different than a lot of ball clubs. You got to dig in and play sound double team in their off tackle, and Ian's got to step down, and then he's got to be able to contain a quarterback faking off that. And they hurt us with a couple of passes. They only threw about 2 different passes, but they threw it off that run, off tackle, and they would have success with that lead play off tackle. And when they did release them in down the field, it made our safety look bad because he had the tight end. Our corner didn't read the wing back to start with out of the backfield and went deeper than he normally would go, and he got behind our corner a few times. But in the last part of the ball game, especially the last play, when they had a chance to get in scoring position to get back in the game, our end contained the quarterback and they were over by the bench.
That's right.
Our corner picked up on that receiver. There was nowhere to throw it. We forced him out of the sideline. So we were pleased with our defense. We gave up 177 yards. We'd only been giving up like 70-something yards a ball game rushing. But it was against a team that was used to getting 250, 260, or maybe 300 yards rushing.
Explosive rushing.
Right.
Well, you quoted a figure a little earlier in the program that of what they've been averaging per point. So I think they got 17 points against us, and as I remember the figure you mentioned, we held them way below that average.
Right. They were down a touchdown or 2 on the average. They had only 2 touchdowns and 1 field goal. So anytime you contain a ball club that's been averaging 25, 30 points a ball game, I feel like you've done a good job.
Okay, early in the football game, I'm sure the coaching staff probably viewed this the same way we did, but us folks in the press box that has a little leniency that you don't have, we can sit back and enjoy the game a little bit and just get to look at everything while y'all were down there working. But early in the ball game, we detected that flare pass out there to number 24 was going to leave you some misery all through the night. And they did. They used that on 2 or 3 different, successful on it on about 3 occasions, and tried it 4 or 5 times. And I think that's one of the plays, or the key play you're referring to in that last drive, that we finally learned how to contain and break up.
We weren't really prepared from our previous practice this week. We had the same pass play, and we worked on it during the week, but we weren't prepared for him to be as deep down the field as he was. We knew the tight end against Hammond numerous times. They got behind Hammond, and they didn't throw to it. They threw once or twice for touchdowns over Hammond with the end straight down the field, the tight end, and you can pick him up. We had him picked up with a safety. But when the wingback came right off by the end where he normally kicks that in out on that power play, he went about 15, he went around 20 yards deep. And where we've been picking up in practice like 5 to 10 yards deep, he was twice as deep. And the safety's already driven off. He's got to take the tight end. So the corner back in his defense wasn't used to having to adjust that deep. So it was just a good pass.
Is that one of the major things you talked about at halftime? To trying to adjust?
Right. We were trying to adjust to that and get our corner to pick him up when he came out by the end, try to get him to pick him up and follow him on back. And then when he does that, our end has got to contain the quarterback.
Well, whatever you told them at halftime and whatever y'all put together, you definitely did. And I seen, especially in the last quarter, when it could have meant the marbles, and they were coming back at you with that play. You did adjust to defend that play at the end. So them boys can play football by themselves sometimes, but you coaches, they need you every now and then to be there. So no, I was sure that y'all would pick that up, and I didn't know whether or not we were going to be able to defend it, because they were doing it successfully, but we did in the final analysis.
Sometimes they, especially when they run that play at you time and time again, and they make them pretty good yardage, 3 or 4 yards, and you've got to really tighten up to stop it. It's just set up. It's just naturally set up. And if he went shallow in the flat, I'm sure our corner picked him up. But the way he was releasing, our corner wasn't used to having to pick him up that deep. And they made a fine adjustment themselves during the game in their plans to throw that pass. And we weren't prepared in the beginning to pick it up just that way, but we adjusted. There was one pass that we're not referring to right now. They threw twice against Bel Air for touchdowns, and that's when they went with 2 wideouts. And they drove them back inside. Then they ran that back out of the backfield behind that. And we worked real hard on that pass. It's almost like a pick play where they come back inside on your corner and your safety, and then he slides out to the sideline about 15, 20 yards deep. And that's the play they ran the last play of the game that we contained real well. We were prepared for that. And thank goodness we picked up on that.
Well, that's when we needed to, too. Well, Coach, for 1986 at least, Denham Springs is history. So right now we can put them to bed, shove them aside. We took them by a score of 20-17, which was a major feat in the District 7 Quad A race, but it is behind us. And what we've got in front of us now is important. And again, it's like you said a while ago, you can't fool these kids. You just got to explain to them that life is like that. When they've put one to bed, that the next one's going to be tougher, especially when they're in the solid W column over there. Everybody wants a piece of the action. We want to talk about what we're expecting this week, but first I want to mention that what we had talked about a little while ago. The businesses in this community are responsible for bringing this program and the football game to you. We want to mention these people: Superior Ford in Zachary, Landmark Dental in Baker, in the Baker Regional Shopping Center, and State Farm agent Keith Cox. If y'all see these folks, thank them for bringing these programs to you. We want to remind you to tune in following this telecast, following this coaches show tonight. Tune in at 7 o'clock for the JV game that we filmed this past Thursday night, the Baker High School JV game, along with a coach's interview with the head JV coach, Coach Richie Orr. So y'all stay with us after this program. Well, Coach, a lot of folks around town, if not around the district and greater Baton Rouge and probably the southern part of the state, are saying that the event that's going to take place in Wedge County Stadium Friday night is, for a fact, the district championship ball game, and at least can determine possibly a standing in the state playoff by the outcome of this ball game. And it can be, for 2 undefeated teams, it can be the wrecker or the maker for the team. So for their record. So how do you view it, and are we going to be prepared?
Craig, it's definitely a big game for us. Being undefeated and they're undefeated. Probably the first time that we've played them in a while. They've been undefeated that I can remember. They've always come in with a fine football team, and many times no more than one loss, and in a position they could knock us out of it. They have Bel Air has a real outstanding talent. They have good speed. Uh, they have good size in their running backs, and have two quarterbacks can throw the ball. One's an outstanding runner and quarterback throwing the ball. So they're going to be a big challenge for us. The game will give the other team, the one that wins the game, the lead in the district race. Of course, there's two other or three other, in some cases, district games. We have two other district games after that, but an open date. So you can't discount those games. But this will give the team that wins this game an advantage, a definite, distinct advantage in the 7 Quad A district race.
Well, let me ask you, and maybe you don't know yet, maybe you hadn't got that far, but perhaps you do. If you don't, just don't worry about it, because I know y'all still get your reports in that you continue to study. But in terms of some numbers, what kind of points have they been averaging on the board, and what kind have they been defending? Do you have any of those numbers yet?
Well, the Denham Springs game is you can't really compare games because, but you can look and see what they did. They beat Denham Springs 42-25. To give you an idea about that game.
So they can put points on the board against a good football team.
Right,
at 1 point.
Right, they sure can. Denham Springs did turn over one at the first part of the ball game, a fumble, and set them up on a touchdown. But they're for real. They scored those touchdowns. They came back last week against East Ascension, who's a common opponent that both of us have played, and they beat East Ascension 17-6, where we beat East Ascension 30-12. So you can see how games go. You can't always really go by scores, but it's an indication that they have a team that can put points on the scoreboard, and we have one that can do that too. And defensively, we both stack up pretty good. So everything points to a real battle.
Well, I think we got as fine a football team as they'll ever have that we'll put on the football field Friday night. I know we have as fine a coaching staff as they have in the state of Louisiana, and I mean that sincerely. You, Coach Larry Thomas, along with your number one assistants, Joe Moot, that coordinates your offense, and Milton Broussard coordinates your defense, amongst the other coaches that work real hard. So we're proud of you men and the job that y'all do, and we know that you'll have the football team as ready as they can possibly be Friday night.
Well, we had to go inside today and work inside. Of course, I'm sure everybody else in the area did too, to try to get a start on it. And we drilled for 2.5 hours today, just dumbing inside the gym, trying to read sets they'll be in, patterns they'll be running through, and going through our blocking and so forth to try to get prepared. But I wouldn't go in this game with any other team but Baker. I mean, Baker is a place for me, and I'm proud to go into this game with the players we have and young men that we represent. So they'll be ready to play.
Well, congratulations on the record so far, and good luck to you for the future. Folks, if you're watching this program tonight, call your friends. Tell everybody that you know. If they know anything about football or whether they do or not, if they support Baker High School, be at the football game in Wedge Kai Stadium Friday night. Let's pack jam that thing full. This is all the marbles coming up Friday night. So y'all be in there to support the Battling Buffaloes right there at Wedge Kai Stadium. We want to thank our sponsors for bringing this program to you and the football game to your living room. We want to thank Superior Ford in Zachary, where you get a superior deal, Landmark Dental right here in Baker, Louisiana, and the Baker Regional Shopping Center, and Keith Cox, the State Farm agent right here in Baker. So y'all call these folks and tell them that you see them, and stay tuned tonight past this program at 7 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, the JV game will be aired right here on Channel 7. So stay with us. It's good seeing you, Coach Thomas. Thank you for being with us. Tell all the coaching staff that good luck, and we wish y'all luck Friday night. I'm Greg Allen saying we'll catch you next week.